Oh, I was just asking for you for life, but yeah.
I heard light as well, so.
Sure, apologies.
Yep, running?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to welcome everybody to the Utah County COVID-19 Economic Recovery Committee meeting dated September 29th, 2020. We have in attendance here myself, Mayor Wright, Mayor Staley, Mayor Frost participating via Zoom. Mayor Layson is on his way, and for now we'll excuse Mayor Lucy and Commissioner Ivy.
Mayor Reese.
And Mayor Reese. So we'll start with public comment, and I don't know if anybody received any public comment, did we?
Did we receive any public comment? No. We have had several businesses that were denied the first round, reaching out just to find out about decisions, but no official comment. But I have been quite a few emails finding out if there's a second round or not.
Okay. All right. Well, that will open our discussion today. Do we have anybody here who would like to make public comment? Anyone in attendance? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion. We'll go to item number 2. We need to ratify the order of calling the change in location to the MAG office and additional agenda item number 8, which is the EDA CARES Grant update. I'll take a motion on item number 2. Make that motion. I'll second. Have a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. 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 And any opposed?
You don't know what you're voting for.
That'd be good if you guys would vote for it.
Okay. Next item is item number 3. This is update on the nonprofit awards.
Yep,
Okay.
I'll take that.
Okay.
So we have notified all of the awards and denials that were decided last week. We are currently just waiting for the funds to hit our account. The county did transfer those over. It just takes several business days. So as soon as those reach us, we will be mailing out all checks that are 50,000 or under, and then coordinating with anything larger than that, either sending certified mail or having them come pick up the office. We anticipate that will happen this week. And we've got a lot of positive feedback with the awards and a lot of very happy nonprofits.
Yeah.
And that is all on the nonprofit award update.
So were they just notified by letter, each one received an email or a letter?
Email.
saying This is the amount. So everybody knows that they didn't get
Yeah.
everything, but they got something.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Any questions on that? Okay, item number 4 is discussion regarding remaining round 1, small business grant.
So just to refresh everyone's memory, the first round of small business grants, the allocation was 15 million. We sent out and awarded 8.9 million in change. All of those have been sent out, except I'm holding 2 checks with businesses that were having a hard time getting their W-9s back. So all but about 20,000 has been sent out. So we have 6,062,000 left from that first round of small business allocations.
Options. Why don't we start off by talking some of our options? One is one that we've been, well, that's come up several times, and that is take the full amount of the remaining money and do reconsideration to the applicants who did not qualify the first time. Okay. That was one option, and I believe there were a couple other options that were discussed as well, right?
So the applications that were not qualified the first time would nowhere near hit that 6 million. It was just a handful. So if you were going to do a second round, I would consider opening it up again to all the businesses in Utah County. It took us, what, 3 weeks to get to 8 to 9 million in asks. And so I would say we have probably, this is just a guess, but maybe 250,000 in applications that we denied that might come back in, so we would want to open it up, I think.
Those ones that were denied, was there like a all one reason or different reasons? Are there reasons why we wouldn't fund them again?
The ones that would come back were the ones that didn't hit that March 1st, 2019 to be in business by. And so the committee had kind of discussed maybe loosening that restriction this next time. Those we would see funding if we loosened that restriction. Otherwise, they wouldn't be eligible for a variety of other reasons. But we had a lot of 1099.
The other ones that just kind of know they wouldn't be.
Yeah. Mhm.
Seems like they're gonna open it up to those people that, there might have been people that didn't apply because they didn't meet that qualify.
They knew they did
They
qualify.
didn't meet that date, and now we automatically give somebody that did qualify, but didn't meet the date, then you almost have to open it up for sure.
I think we have to have everybody reapply because we're gonna change the rules, right?
So what we could do is if you go that route, we do have some draft possible adjustments. But we could, the ones that did apply that first round, rather than making them reapply a complete application, we can kind of just have them reach out, branch their questions, and take the information. So we wouldn't have to have them do a full application.
Right.
But we would want to open it up to other businesses.
But we need to reestablish a new set of rules.
Yeah. Mhm.
So it seems like there was also a proposal. I don't remember who asked for this, that we consider giving the money back to the cities for some kind of I think of the right word.
Like a voucher thing.
Yeah, a voucher, that's it.
Santaquin's the only one I know that's done that, at least in our county.
We're doing that
Are you?
But there was some concern with that as to whether or not it actually met some of the qualifications. Now things have changed. But I don't know, is that something?
You can give the money back if that's what the cities want to do, either to yourselves or back to the county. You just have to use it before December for a verifiable CRF purpose.
So my question is, I guess with that, is there an interest in doing that countywide? Or the cities have done it with their own money if it's necessary to do it again, because of course you'd be
The
getting.
cities that have done it, I don't know that you would want to double up on that.
Okay.
How many cities have done it?
Sounds like there's two, the Santaquin Basin. What we're doing is $50 we send out to each household, and then it would come in increments of $10 coupons. And so you can go to a participating store. Not all stores want to participate. There have been about 90 that are participating. And then you go there and spend that $10, or you can do all 50 at one store. But if you spread it out and go to 5 different stores, and $10 each store, then you can be put into a drawing to get a $200 gift certificate. And then we have 7 of those that the best they get. So in an effort to broaden the effect of it.
That's an interesting way to do it. I like that. But that is another option on the table that we can discuss. Anything else? Seems like there was something else that was brought on earlier, but I don't remember what it was.
I think you're right. Does the county have, let's say we were gonna turn it back, do they have any big ideas or plans? You know, one time they talked about reimbursing sales tax, or not sales tax, property tax, or, you know, is there things like that that we know about even on the table for them?
Well, county has $45 million.
I was gonna say, did the
No, I'm not-
county spend all their money?
Not-
No.
That way it seems
No.
like.
We're starting to meet tomorrow to talk about it because of the update to the HR provision. We're probably going to go that direction. That's kind of what we're thinking at this point.
The property tax direction, or?
The HR, you can put it in your HR, police, and public safety.
Do you guys have those things?
Oh, yeah.
You got a whole
hose, don't you?
You don't?
Don't you have a hose? You know, you put right, you get a brand new hose.
Yeah. We bought a few, actually.
So-
They've been being prepaid.
Oh, so this is the question I have. I think I have to remember back when this was just first started and we allocated that $20 million. And this is maybe a question for Peter as much as anybody, but Peter, is that money, was that allocated from the city's portion or the county's portion?
Both,
So we did like a 50-50, like 10 million each?
yes.
Yes, it's $20 million for economic recovery, which we split that here, and then 45 million to be distributed among the cities per capita and 45 million to the county.
So what we could do is we could say what'd you say, we've spent how much to the businesses?
Just under 9 million, 5 million to the nonprofits, 6 million and change left.
So there's 6 million left. So we could say we've spent all the county's portion, and we could take back the 6 million and split it to the rest of the cities.
It's an option.
Well, I mean, I think we as cities probably could get it out to our local businesses a little quicker. You know, I understand our process here, but if we've done this process, maybe what we do is now divide it between the rest of the cities, give them a little more money and say, here's some money that you can help some of your local businesses, and if you haven't already.
Look at it.
I would just caution you that you're going to have to do a granting process if you do that locally. And so, you know, if you've got the resources to do that, great. I've actually recommended that if you do that, that you use MAG to just do their process and just identify funds that you want to use locally and just kind of repeat step one or the first small business award process, but just do it for the city with some new funding and some bounds related to the city's boundary.
So what's the different process then if you, like Payson here, has just given it to all their citizens? What's the difference between giving it all to your citizens or going and giving it to your small business?
Because you got to develop a need. So you're going to have a grant or some kind of a granting application for an individual or a business. It's the process that you're going to have. You can't just gift it away to just.
You give it to individuals?
Yeah, what about individuals like Payson?
Households.
You have to develop a need. You can't just give it just willy-nilly. You have to develop a need. Somebody has to fill out an application to show that there's been a hardship.
At least that's the concept.
There's a question. I know we've kind of earmarked this as economic recovery.
What they're trying to tell us
We
here,
didn't have to go through.
why we have to do it with the small business, but we don't have to do it with giving it to the residents,
Households.
households. Walk me through that, Peter.
Well, it's really just the same process. It's just that with you earmarked the first tranche for small businesses. So if you wanted to do tranche 3 for individuals, you could, but you're still going to have them fill out an application that shows a need. And it may be less involved than the small business one, but you know, maybe they just write up a report that says how COVID's affected them and the challenges in their household, and you know,
Like when Payson did it, households certainly didn't write up a need. They just probably did a broad brush, right?
Well, yeah, it was a stimulus for the businesses that have been affected in our city.
Yeah.
You could flip it though. I mean, instead of giving it to the residents, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but if you were concerned about that, you could have business go through an application process to do the same thing. So basically they have the funds and people come in and get the discount from them instead of you giving them the money to go use at the retail outlet or whatever. So if the store had the discount coupons, then they come in and for a person that comes in the store, they can give them 50% off or whatever they want on an item or something like that. Then the businesses are the ones that submit the application. They've met this criteria and they're giving it out to whatever customers. So you stimulate people going to the retail outlets that way.
in Payson, how did you do it? Did you just give out certificates and then the businesses collected those certificates and turned them
Yeah,
in?
they're coupons and
Right,
they're mailed out to the households in Payson with some instructions on how to use them. I did a YouTube video with one of the other council members and explained it to them, and that there would be participating businesses that would have a sign in their store that would come in and they'd come in and use those. They would sign their card for them, and then if they did 5 different businesses, they'd bring that card back in and it would be put into a drawing.
So you just really blanketed all of everybody out of water bill. Let's say you just gave everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
but the businesses, well, it's hard to identify who the beneficiary is, isn't it? Under that circumstance, because
Well,
they
business,
Some of both,
benefited.
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, both
They get
individuals.
cheaper dinner and they got somebody buying food from them, so.
If we, not everybody chose to participate. Walmart said, no, we won't. Because I think they're doing well anyhow.
Well, that's, yeah, if you choose, you'd want your local guys to get it, right?
there's probably a bigger headache for them to administer.
Could you use it only for food and stuff like that, or could you use it like if you needed to hire a local plumber and wanted to get a discount?
Well, if it was a business that decided that was in Payson, then I would imagine, and they decided to participate,
So some of the businesses have decided to do that, or some of the cities have talked about doing that. We call that a cash equivalent, and I think that's okay. The biggest challenge, again, going back to, we have got to determine a need on the basis of the individual. Just get a certificate. It can't just be blanketly handed out.
Well, it sounds like that's what happened, so how did it work?
That's why we're confused.
Well, going back to the FAQ, I mean, that's really the only rule. There's 2 rules with economic support. One is that you have to determine a need, whether it's businesses, individuals, nonprofits, and the second rule is it can't go towards backfilling any government revenue. That's it. Those are the 2 rules.
Mayor Frost, you had a comment. You didn't get a chance to finish.
Yeah, I know that we've talked about educational purposes. Cities are pulling out of their current COVID money to do educational pieces for their city. I mean, to me, that could be used. I mean, it's a need. Now that we know that we can do O&M on our police and fire, to me, that other money is well spent. And so I think there's some advantages to think that if we can take some of this out, we are saving the economy by keeping the economy open. And so that would put it back in the hands of the cities.
Okay. Well, we have primarily 2 options so far then, right? Just reopen a new application with some new established rules, giving those an opportunity who primarily started their business after March 30th, right?
So we had talked in a past meeting about, so this past one was March 1st, 2019. We talked about readjusting that if there was a second round to March 1st, 2020.
Okay. Then the second option is just redistributing to the city, I guess, based on per capita.
Is there a way to do a quick estimate of what that would look like per cities? Because that might help
Probably
make a
just
decision.
Take the total amount and see how much, what's our population in the county?
670,000.
What'd you say it was, 6 million what we have?
6,062,000. So maybe just 6 million to round.
You know, while we're doing that, Michelle, what's your thought on if we do open up another round? It seemed like we had a lot of trouble actually finding people and getting them to come to us and only spent 8 million.
Well,
$1
we're
million.
ready this-
Dollars per person.
we're ready this time, something that we would do different, there's something called the book of lists that you can purchase, the database for every business, and we would mail postcards.
Well, you get what's your
And
population
people
times
know
nine.
us now, and also loosening that date for the restriction to apply, I think would open up a lot more, people that were interested and eligible.
As Payson High graduates understand.
You know, Halibut for you.
Yeah, we're about,
Over a million.
Yeah.
About 125,000.
yeah, 100,000.
So Provo will get about 1 million, or Provo will get a little bit more than 1 million, Orem will get a little bit less than 1 million.
Goshen will get 900.
You can get three
9,000.
hoses. You can get
9,000.
3 brand new hoses with that.
Maybe about 55,000 in Lena.
Well, we're 72, but I think the number that we're used to distribute is around 69,000. So, yeah. So that's 624,000 for us.
You know,
What was the per capita you came up with?
So if you take 9 times your population, $9 per person.
But then if we have to spend it that way, or could we, if we divide it up and give it to each city?
Here's my only concern is because the mayors and the commissioners all mutually agreed to spend 20 million for economic recovery, right? The rest was distributed. So I would think it would probably be appropriate, but I don't think necessary to have it tied to some kind of economic recovery.
I'm just thinking with
System of some
ours,
sort.
if we got, 1.25 million with our population is what I think we would get. I would love to have my economic development department go out literally door to door to the businesses that didn't get any money, the small mom and pop shops, and say, hey, we've got this money, here's your chance. Let us help you figure it out how to, so that you can get a portion. 'Cause
And
there
I
was a
think that-
lot that didn't.
I think now that we've got the flexibility to put that into
Exactly.
the fund, we've got time to do that, where we were under the gun before. That would
See,
be great.
my issue is if we open up for another round, so we got the process, come back in a week, come back in a week, come back in a week. I think if it was distributed to each individual city, then it's boom, we're out there, we're doing it, and then we're giving it to each one of our cities, whereas this, not every, some of this is going to some of the cities, probably the majority of the cities, but some of them got a lot more than others. And this way we could use it directly for our businesses in our cities and get them out to
And we
help
wouldn't
them.
repeat what we're already doing, there's other things that we could do.
Right.
I like that.
The converse on that is little places, and I don't have too big of a voice because I'm so small, but Joel and Goshen, we're not going to be able to do anything with any of that money because we don't
We'll
have any
take it.
businesses. And that was gonna be my next question is, if that's true, we all shop in Santa Quinn and Spanish and Payson, does that make sense? Because if you gave me $10,000 to stimulate my business, we have one retail business. He's gonna be a hell of a happy guy, right?
But you have service industry businesses, right? You have guys that are contractors.
Well,
Right.
I would say a couple of 3, and one of them already got 10 grand, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So I'm not opposed to it, I'm just saying that money, if you give me the $9,000, $10,000, it's probably gonna go back to the county, because I'm not gonna be able to administrate it or stimulate anything in Goshen, because we shop where you guys
So you
are.
would
And so-
vicariously get the benefit if it went to,
If it went to a broader county-based thing, but I do also understand that maybe the county's been exhausted, nobody wants the money unless you knock door to door like you said.
Well, maybe.
We're not exhausted. We'll always take.
No, I
money.
mean, the people that were self-sufficient that came to us.
So if I'm gonna run against you, I'm gonna say, here's the mayor that turned down $10,000 from the government.
Which might be.
Those 2 hoses
Yeah,
we
yeah.
paid for.
But, well, I'm just saying, there's no place for it to go, and I'm sorry, but I don't.
there are some businesses that still need
I'm
some
just
help.
giving you.
I know.
Although
We have so many.
they've got, the stim, our theater needs the help.
You could
And
do
it
some,
gives us the
you
flexibility. to help
could
them.
do something where,
When I heard about Santa Quinn, I wish they would have asked me, because we would have probably put some more money that way, and I didn't know you guys are doing it now either, but.
so if there is like a certain population basis, that then that can be shared
You-
in the
you can still do
region.
that.
So Goshen, Denola,
I'll set the
Santa
pace
Cruz,
or something.
Payson, they could all share theirs together. So even though it would go to that community that, you know, Goshen could say, well, we prefer to have our folks shopping in
Yeah.
Santa
I don't know.
Cruz.
I don't spend too much time on this because I know
Same thing
we're,
with
Right, and the
windmills
still
and
thing
the-
is, it's helping people in the county.
and that's,
Yeah, and that's the idea, is to
You
get the
still should
stimulus
take
out.
money and then be
No.
able to do that.
There are
Yeah.
6 communities combined that represent 2% of the sales tax, less than 2%. So Cedar Fort, Fairfield, Woodland Hills, Elk Ridge, Goshen, and Genola.
You got
There we go.
Cut that finger off.
Mesita.
But some of those, some of those cities like Woodland Hills, they have a fire, they have
Right.
essential services. So a little more money to them could mean a lot.
Right.
You know,
But they could also,
I could spend it for my fire department. I couldn't stimulate the economy without being mega creative, I guess is where I'm at. I mean,
Couldn't you
that's-
do the same thing that Payson did? You give certificates
Well,
out
business.
or coupons?
to go to one business.
No.
But you
no,
still
oh,
can
oh,
go
it could
down to
go
Payson.
Oh, no, and that's what I'm saying.
Because,
If that was possible, I would love it, because
Yeah.
we do shop in Santa Cruz.
yeah,
It's
so,
network. Yeah.
so whatever businesses are in Santaquin, you know, those coupons are valid
Certainly,
there. And that would help. So that's,
Yeah.
But I-
X amount to Sonic, X amount to Payson, we'd be glad to work with you.
May I make a comment?
Yeah.
When we were first deciding what to do with the money, right before we decided exactly the amount for small business loans, many of the cities have reached out to us, asking us if we would also administer their small business grant program. And so I just would like to possibly think about, if this does get pushed back to the cities, will the ones that don't have full-time economic development teams come back to MAG and ask us to run all their individual
and I think that's
programs?
something we could let them know that that's
But-
available.
But we don't have the capacity to run all of the.
so let me,
Well,
let
then
me,
I'll take Steve's money. I'll administer it to you, for you.
and I want to speak in favor of the first proposal that we just re-energize the fund and reapply, because I think that's going to be more easily administered if we do it that way. And it does to go to some of the legitimate businesses that just weren't, well, they've suffered. It's just harder for them to demonstrate how they've suffered, the degree, you know, that they've suffered in. But
Is there people that post the cutoffs and, oh crap, I wish I would have got in on this because their neighbor or their buddy or their business next door? Was there any activity like that? Does it seem like we would have
A few
decent?
phone calls is what
A
I
few?
thought, yeah.
Yeah,
But
and I don't know, you probably missed what I was telling Mayor Frost. This next go around, if we did do another go around, we would purchase the book of lists and do a mailer to every city in the county, and do a direct mailer. And then now we have a well-oiled machine that we've worked with all of the cities. So this would be a familiar process if it goes that way.
the reason I guess I lean that way a little bit, because you talk about your theater and some of the other businesses. I think
We could
it's a
still do this
catch-all.
this way.
I think it catches everybody countywide. And honestly, as much as Lehigh, as big as we are, you know, $600,000 is a pretty significant amount, but I don't want it outdoors. I just as soon make sure it's fairly distributed and we have a mechanism countywide that the method of determining how that money is spent is equivalent. Because this way, you know, it's money intended for the town and the entire county, but yet every city's gonna have their own little determination, and I question if that feels right.
Well, but on the other hand, these businesses that were just right on the cusp here, they're in the city. They're
Yeah,
in
they
your
are.
city or some other city. So, you know, those people still could be reached out and receive funds, not be cut off, you know. So I'm, either way, we're coming up on the deadline, you know, and I just assume, me personally, I don't know. I know my businesses in my town, ones that need it, I think I can get them out to them a little quicker, maybe not, maybe. So, you know, we have a good chamber that's been working real well with that, so either way, I can go either way. I'm probably leaning a little more distributing to each one of these cities. But I can be Switzerland if I need to.
Well,
What-
what ask Mayor Capucci a question? Yeah, I mean,
Maybe.
maybe.
Okay, go ahead.
Depends on the topic.
Just you make me ask
If-
your mission. If we're struggling finding
Right.
an ideal opportunity to use this directly to businesses or whatever, from your perspective and just the response, especially with us going back to Orange, is there any area that you feel like as a county we were deficient on, that if we had $6 million, I mean, hypothetically, let's say, you know, we really didn't have a good stockpile of PPE within the county to give to businesses. Would it be worthwhile to spend some of that money to create a stockpile for future events in case we have something like this? And that we became a repository for businesses as a resource for equipment or supplies, or, I mean, I just, if we're struggling trying to find the ideal way to give them money to reimburse lost costs or revenue or whatever, is there a better thing that we could be doing for the businesses that prop us up to be a resource in the future that maybe we weren't initially? And I don't know, it's just an idea.
I think I would hope, Peter, that it would be the county, right? That they would be using some of their funds to prop up their PPE and get ready to go if this were to continue. Because they have a lot more money than $6 million.
No, and I agree, but let's say left to Provo by itself, right?
Oh.
And we just felt like we don't know that we can rely on the county or other cities, or if we're just thinking of ourselves and what could we do or should we do? If we were just trying to look out for the best interests of our businesses, is there anything that you felt like, boy, I really wish we had had this, wish we'd had better communication opportunities with our businesses, or a better way to stay connected to them, or a
Probably
better
all of
source of
the
supplies
above.
for them, or, and if that's the case, if that's legitimate, would this be a proper opportunity to use some of that? To
If
bridge
it
that gap
lands
for
in
the
the,
future?
if it lands in the city's hands. then
Some
that-
of it's related to economic recovery.
Yeah.
PPEs probably wouldn't, because they already have a
Right.
different funding source. But if you could tie it, I think, directly with economic.
I'm just trying to think, I mean, one of the big things we've really struggled with is trying to stay connected with the businesses, and they've gotten so much information that a lot of them are either pursuing avenues on their own, or I mean, we got really crappy emails back from some of the notices that we sent out about this, about, you know, when are you guys gonna stop? This is all a scam. We don't need to wear a mask. When are you guys gonna leave us alone and let us go back to work? So I just really struggle with how do we stay connected with them and create resource opportunities for them so that they see us as a value and not as an hindrance.
So let's just take a straw poll real quick if we can. Mayor Frost, I'm gonna start with you. This is one I wish, we had, all our committee here to answer this question, but Mayor Frost, between the two options here, countywide distribution or city distribution and management, do you have a preference one way or the other?
Well, I have a question, and this is maybe for the group and for Peter, and that is, let's say it comes back to the city's hands. Does it have to be tied to economic development or recovery?
No,
Okay, that's what I'm thinking, because I don't want the burden of trying to spend money, and I think if by doing so, if he coming to the end of this, I think it'll get a little bit wasteful. But if I thought that the very end goal, I could just put some of this back right into the other money, the other CARES money that we have, then I could say I have a landing for it. But my first and foremost would be to the business community, but we don't have a lot of staff. We have a great chamber that could help us out with this, so I just didn't want to make sure I was having to give it up. It could be spent similar to the other CARES money, correct, Peter?
yes,
Okay. I would say with that in mind, I think I would be in favor of bringing it back into the cities and having it in our hands, knowing that we have an outlet.
Thanks. Mayor Wright.
I think I'd be on that side too, bring it back.
City distribution
Yeah,
instead of
because,
countywide.
we're trying to go touchless. We certainly could use some more resources to do that. With the inside our city buildings and outbuildings, you know, so that's just what I'm sure we could use for my camera.
Mayor Staley.
I'd probably stay countywide, but that's where I'm at. And the other thing I wonder, you kind of touched on it briefly, maybe a question to follow up is, what does the county think? I mean, if they wanted us to use this for stimulus, if we bring it back into our coffers for other things, do they have any power to not let us do that? I don't know.
Probably not, but that was, to me, that was a clear intention.
Yeah.
And I agree with what Mayor Frost said. I mean, it's nice to have a backstop, but in reality, I think that's the way the mayors and the commissioners all voted. So that's kind of in my mind.
You know, we could still use it as economic stimulus too. We can still reach out to businesses that are already hurting, but we can make a difference too, so.
You bring up a good point about the bringing it back into use for non-economic response. I didn't think about this, but we probably would need to route that decision through the commission since it was originally earmarked for economic support.
That was my concern initially.
Yeah, I just thought about that. Is Robert there? Any of the attorneys?
Yes.
So I reviewed both the agreements between the cities and the county just now, and also what the county ratified the creation of this committee. They did not give a lot of direction in either one of those. They did set aside 20 million, but the set 20 million was for economic support. It didn't specify businesses or non-businesses, but just the economic support. So I think as long as you're within that, then you wouldn't have to go back to the commission. But if you're going beyond that and just giving it to the cities who they might use it for their lawn, something like that, I think you would want to go back.
Did you hear that, Mayor Frost?
Yes, I did. So, you know, that changes the way I think a little bit. If he thinks that in the end that we can't use it for what we've been using the other CARES tax money for, then I would say that's the effort we want to exhaust very last, rather than lose it.
I think what I said was you should go back to the commission and I'll get that authorization, because the agreements that you provided by economic support.
I don't want to do that. Is there anybody who wants to do that?
We have to go back, no.
No.
What if we say, okay, we're gonna go by the population of $9 and we commit that it's all gonna be thrown into our small businesses, and we don't roll it into our, you know, police payroll or anything like that. We keep it separate and we only use it for our small business.
That's what we have
Still have to go back to the county commissioners?
No, we can't. Then we don't have to go back to, but that was Mayor Frost's concern, is that what if, you know, what if I have $100,000 that I can't equitably distribute? Can I just put it back into fire or back into restrooms or something like that, right? That's what I'm hearing, right, Mayor Frost?
Yes.
Or that's a little bit harder because we're gonna have to manage that closely.
I'm thinking, and I don't know why, maybe there's a hybrid. Maybe we give some back to the cities, and I just have a hard time believing, and I guess time will tell, that we tried 2 weeks. In our city, we went pretty hard door to door. MAG helped us out a lot, and we spent $8 million. We're still $6 million. You know, I just feel like if we spend another 2 to 3 weeks, are we only going to have spent another $2 million? We're going to be right back here. And I shouldn't say it's a lot of money, but I feel like, yeah, we know our city's best. So I still think I'm kind of leaning towards having it come into the hands of the city.
And you know, Mayor Frost makes an excellent point on the hybrid question, because I wish I knew right now exactly if we went back out for application, if it would total $6 million. it may, but chances are it's not, just based on, what you say, the request for 50,000?
About 250 that we
Oh,
denied. It was just a hand, but it was based on
250.
the criteria that you all decided on. I think if you loosened it up and did that March 1st, 2020, we would have, I can't guarantee
So-
we'd have 6 million asked, but we would have many more eligible businesses than we had the first time.
So I'm gonna propose a third option. So we may have to take the straw poll again, start again. But it's Mayor Frost's fault, so. why not? So what if we had a third option that said we go out for a short time frame application, adjust the rules, see how many applicants we got back, see what the money is, see how much is there, and then anything that's left, that gets distributed to the cities. So we have both, but we could limit, if we wanted to, we could limit the amount of money in this second round. Comments on that?
I don't think we limit. I mean, my whole thinking on this is every day that we postpone, let's just push the money out. Let's get it into the hands of the people that need it. The sooner the better. So if we're gonna do all this, let's make it a more sleek process that we go and get it done quick and there's not these big gaps of 3 and 4 weeks.
So out of the three options, you're saying in the city's hands and let the cities distribute?
No, I'm
or
saying,
just-
I'm good with the hybrid. I think, but I think there would have to be definitely the changes. The date change would be significant and the requirements. I know a couple of businesses in Provo started down that path and then gave up. And so if we were gonna lighten it and extend the date, that would help, sure. But again, I think the faster the better, the sooner we can get this money out. And I'm not worried about, we could easily, if it came into the cities, we could get it into the small business, the mom and pop shops.
I think there's 2 businesses I can think of right off the bat that I think we'd be very interested in helping. They're major businesses, maybe not mom and pops, but they're major businesses that contribute, this stadium cinemas that they're struggling. And that would be a great one. And, Basement Fruit Growers never applied because they didn't think they would qualify, which I dispute. I think they would have. But we'd love to help them because that's another major one in our city. And so I think with the money coming back, those are 2 of the main places. And they would be right in line with the economic stimulation, so it wouldn't have to go back to the county.
My biggest concern has always been the small LLCs out there and the small businesses, the contractors, the subcontractors.
And we're addressing some of those with those 90 businesses that it's roughly $350,000 that we're doing. And it's going to make a difference in those businesses. So we're addressing some of those smaller mom and pops too.
Get a vote.
Yeah.
You always get it. You get 2.
Good. I like giving it back to the cities because I think we know our businesses, we can get it out to our businesses quickly and we can always give it back, My feeling is we can, like Mayor Kafusi, I just soon get the money, get it out, get it distributed to everybody that we can, and help those people. Because when did we first get this 20 million?
We first started meeting in July.
So here we are in September,
Almost October.
And we're still trying to decide who we're going to give the money to. Those people have been hurting for a lot of months, and so my feeling is, let's get to the cities. We have a pulse beat on all our businesses. We know who needs some help, and we can get it out to them. And that's where I'm showing that.
I think personally, I would lean towards the hybrid because I'm concerned about some of those businesses who applied and couldn't, and I think there's some more out there that would. We're large enough. I have so many businesses that I wish I could say I had my hand on their pulse, but I don't. we've had many, many businesses that have actually done better during.
Well, yeah, well, and we have too. You know, we have businesses that are thriving during this time, and there are others that are just hanging on by a
Right.
thread. And I think every city's gonna have that,
Right.
because you're gonna do that. But, so those that are hanging on by a thread, we want to get the money to them as quick as we can and help them out, so that this might just be what we can do to push them to keep in business, so they can ride it until we get over this. So,
You know, I could just say one more thing to be considered, and as I thought about this, and when I talk about the backstop, because I didn't want to lose it, I know I could find nonprofits within my city boundaries that would need this money as well.
We could too.
yeah, so
Absolutely. Some that didn't apply that should have applied.
I was shocked that some that didn't apply. And so between those two criterias, the lens that we've looked through, American Fork could internally find ways to use this.
Well, I'm not so sure about it.
I would like it to come back to the cities as well, but also I'm okay if we do the hybrid. If you want to push a couple weeks on the,
Could we just say a dollar amount? I mean, if we have, let's say we're gonna say 2 million right now, we're gonna leave in the application cycle, we're gonna say 4 million, we're gonna spread out.
well, let's see. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, say give it back to the cities.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is the hybrid, she said the hybrid, I'm just saying, could you decide right now, the hybrid is 2,000 or 2 million in and 4 million out?
So we made the fatal mistake of listing 4 options and trying to, or 3 options and trying to vote on it. You should never do that, right? But we did. And the only, to answer your question, the hybrid, you know, it would scare me to do, say, 2 million. And we had $3 million worth of requests,
Fair.
right?
No, there's risk,
Then
yeah.
all of a sudden we're
I
looking
didn't
at,
say.
okay, what do we do, you know?
Oh, yeah. Do your
So,
city.
Yeah, but, I mean, I'm hearing from Mayor Wright, Mayor Kafusi, and Mayor Leifson, I mean, kind of leaning towards just distributing to the city. I'm different than that, you're different than that. Mayor Frost, yours was the hybrid proposal, so.
What are you making me the swing vote here, Mayor?
It appears you're the swing vote.
Or the
here
tie, or the
because-
tie.
Yeah.
Or the tie.
Not used to voting anymore. I'm just used to watching people vote around me. So no, I think I would be in favor of giving it to the cities. Yeah, with the idea that, again, the nonprofits, we could help them out.
Is it possible to get a list of those who applied and didn't and make sure that
Yeah, that'd
the
be
cities they're in,
good. Yes.
that they can,
Are aware of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
So
feel
we can
sorry
reach
for
out
them.
to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
so are there any restrictions to this money? Does it have to go to nonprofits or can it do small businesses?
Well, I'd say either
And
one,
nonprofits,
as long as
either
it's,
one.
as long as it's economic
Because that's what we
recovery.
use it to,
Perfect.
yeah, so it can go.
So we don't have to go back and say, Mother May I,
This
which
will
I
go
think is a
fast.
term came from you at one point.
That was me, Mother May I.
Yeah, so we don't have to do that. And it's just economic recovery related. And I don't care if it's nonprofit, it's business, you know.
So when it comes back, we would know X amount of money came back from this committee and that X amount has to be done nonprofit or profit.
Yeah, but I think somehow, to appease Peter's comment earlier, we are gonna have to individually establish a system. And we don't wanna overburden MAG with having them do it. We need to establish our own internal systems for applications to make sure they're legitimate.
I guess that's right. How do you, Steve, how do you think you're gonna get it out quicker without an application period?
Got a great economic development.
But isn't that part of the rule? They're gonna have to
Spanish
prove
Fork.
that they have a need.
Yeah.
Spanish Fork, Dave Anderson did reach out to us to ask us to run a possible small business
Oh, really?
program.
Well, he's gonna have to refresh his resume.
I mean, just-
I guess that's what kind of gives you, how is it gonna be
It's-
possible?
It's just, it's full disclosure. We've had some very large cities the second largest city in our forks, and even those that have economic development staff to reach out to us to see if we would run their individual small business grant programs. And
you're at
so,
that point where, yeah,
and so my concern is that we could get many calls asking if we can run separate grant programs for each.
You know, you could have brought
jurisdictions.
this up before we got the.
Well, I did. I
Where
did.
you
I just
been?
didn't call out the cities.
Honestly, guys, I'm not the first largest, I'm not the second largest, we are the third largest. And it concerns me greatly to administer this, but we'll,
Is it
Find a way to
something we
do it.
can do with resource? Like, right now, we're just covering the cost of this program just through MAG savings account. So, I mean, at a cost, is it something we can assist with at a cost, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, it would
we just
depend on
don't
how,
have-
if every city had different criteria. And Jessica texted me a great idea.
I'll pop.
We run,
We have some resources.
and we run Summit and Wasatch counties. We've done a combined program, but it was one program. They all came to us, and then the counties made their decisions on the local level. So that's something, but to think about doing 6 to 10 different programs with different criteria. I mean, I just don't know.
And
Wasatch
So-
County has partnered with Heber
We
City
couldn't
and Midway
just
County.
say, hey, these are the businesses we pick and say that's why we picked them. It has to be a detailed.
I think to be fair, you're going to have to do it, or you're gonna, somebody's gonna challenge you, and that's going to be a very difficult place to defend.
So I guess with another hybrid. So, Michelle and Jessica and Jess, could we do something where we say, if you want to fall in this criteria, we can process this for you, turn it back to,
I mean, we
The
could
staff.
collect all the applications and turn it back to the cities to make the decisions. Absolutely.
if you want to go all out on your own
Right.
with your own 10,000 criteria, then you have to.
What if we established among all the cities a standard criteria? And it went out, but every city still distributed it. They still made their internal committee decisions like we did, but we established some criteria that everybody follows. Could you
That's
guys
what
manage
Wasatch
that?
County is doing. So they've said that Wasatch County is partnering with Midway and with Heber City. And once I get all of the applications in at the end of the week, I'm going to be sending all of them, all of the applications from their different jurisdictions, and they'll be distributing the money based on that application within their own jurisdictions. So if it's the same application
So we
process,
can
we can
do-
do that.
We can do that part
Right.
for you.
Yeah.
Then
That's gonna put
Because we-
some restrictions on what you want to do, but it also kind of makes it easier.
But then-
Solves, yeah.
But you would get all of the stuff.
I mean, they could set
We
their
would go
priorities
through
then.
and rank it, but then you
They
still
can set
have
their priorities
your
at that point, yes.
discretion to say, well, we're gonna do this one as well. And this
So
one
they'd
as well.
apply all through you again?
We could just collect all the
Well, if we're
information,
gonna
all the
do that, we
required,
Might as well do what we're doing.
all
right
the,
now.
all the required documentation and push it back to the
With
cities.
accepting, each city has a dedicated amount.
Yeah, so then we just send that back. We bring it all in, we score it, we send it back to you, and then you just make your council makes a decision in a meeting to spend it this way. or,
And
you know,
maybe
ad
the
hoc.
city could opt in or out. They don't have to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
If they had the capacity to run their own program completely
Or if they want
separately.
to do something different with the funds.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
I didn't know
If he
that.
still works there, he might.
Yeah. We might have a new guy.
You guys are fantastic.
We might have a new one.
Dave is fantastic. It is a lot. It is very administrative, heavy burden to run a small business grant program. It took 3 full-time staff people and interns, a county staff person. There was about, I would say almost 5 full-time staff people running that program.
I'm fine with that.
Based on that, I think we just do the first option. I mean, if it's gonna be too big of a hassle for our city staffs to do that, then we've already set this up and we just keep on keeping on.
But the but the distribution being based on population.
Well, no, I'm
You're
talking,
going
Just don't even do that, just
Now,
do
you're
it.
saying the first option,
yeah,
let's run the next round,
let's run the next round.
loosen up the restrictions a little bit, so see who signs up.
Because if it's gonna be that big of a, I know we're strapped with what we're doing right now, and to add another big thing on it, if we'd have to rely on something.
Or we go back to the county and ask them to change it,
But
where we can spend it.
just keep on doing what we're doing and have a second round.
Man, we're just going full circle.
We are.
Because all of a sudden that I was so dead set against that, but now what you just said made perfect sense.
So, well, it's like we're throwing the dice.
Yeah.
Because then we go back to Mayor Cross thing, if they would just let us do what we want with it, it'd be a lot easier to pull back into this, right?
But the staff would kill me if I, you know, put all that on, you know, the 198,000 potential every year, then what the hell do we do now? You know, if we have to get that much. into
Especially
the
because you
details.
have to regulate it.
Yeah, if we just can't.
Make it fair.
Yeah, we just can't pick the ones that, you know, we want, then without any justification, supposedly, you know, then why have that, if we don't have that flexibility?
As nice as it feels to be able to just go down the street and say, you get money, you get
Yeah.
money, you don't, but you get money.
Yeah.
That just.
There's justification in our minds about that, but
Yeah.
when you get down to the nitty gritty, it's more technical.
What about me in the alley that you pass by and me that works on my truck, and there'll be all kinds of stuff like that. But, yeah.
You have an alley in your city?
I'm meeting there tonight.
I didn't know you had that many people to accept an alley.
Okay, we're just, I don't know that.
All
It's
right.
too bad, it's too bad Commissioner, or
Let's
Commissioner
go
Iger's
back
out.
to where we were.
Could we check the pulse on the county? You know, what I mean, would they have any sympathy to say, wow, you guys really did a pretty decent job? Maybe this money could be pushed out of the.
I think with some tweaks, we can make it a little bit easier for people to get that.
So here's why I would argue with still tagging a certain amount per population. Okay, and this is just, hear me out, okay? I don't think we're gonna make the 6.1 million through this. There's gonna be money left over.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go through the application, whatever money's left over, then that gets distributed under that program by population. Then, if they didn't apply, then I think we have an argument. Do we have a legal argument to say that we're distributing the remainder of the money based on
As the needs we see.
the needs we see? I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
But if they're not gonna apply, but yet we still
we
think
fight
there's
it
Two
out.
rounds. They missed two rounds.
And we're
right,
not-
they missed 2 rounds and then we still have some additional money. Does that put us in our backs up against the wall legally?
No, I mean, basically, the contract that most cities have signed basically says economic support, economic recovery, economic recovery. That what the county adopted when they approved this committee was they adopted the purposes that you all adopted in your bylaws, which is a little broader than economic recovery. So I think if you have a better argument, go back to the commission and say, look, I went through 2 rounds. We did 2 business rounds and a nonprofit round, and we still couldn't give all that money away. But you could have the county saying, just give it back to us, to the county commission. You could have them saying that.
I understand that, but that's a risk I'm willing to take if
But
we
if
go
we
through that.
say, okay, whatever's left over, we will do economic for nonprofit, and if
Yeah,
that's the
well,
only thing we'll use.
Whatever.
I think that's your key. I don't care how you
Nonprofit-
get there, you just have to do economic recovery.
So I'm gonna make a proposal here and to see if anybody agrees or everybody disagrees, which I'm sure there will be. But let's go back to a second round. Okay, let's see where we are. Any remaining money would go back to the cities on a per capita basis. And then we can use it. We will use it for economic recovery is the first choice. If we won't, we're going to exercise a backstop, and we're going to go back to petition the county that we have to do that because we've made every effort to be able to distribute it equally.
And that economic would be either profit or not profit, right?
Yes.
And I don't think you have to go back to the county if it's economic recovery. if you're going beyond that.
That's why I said, anything that we can't distribute under that mechanism, then we go back and say, look, we're applying this under a different mechanism. Mother, may I spend it that way? And that gives us the backstop that Mayor Frost wanted.
We could run that, yeah, simultaneously, while the applications are coming, we can go to them and say, if we get to this point, can we use that money? for the other?
I like that idea.
Yes.
I like that idea a lot.
We're running the second one. If we get to the point past the second, we still have money, we want it to go to the cities, and can we also use it for
Oh, yeah.
public safety and all those other things?
We
Or-
really
or
have
should
went
we-
full
I think
circle,
that's enough.
Yeah.
which I think is
It's good,
okay
yeah.
because we've had a full discussion. Is that okay? Do we need, is that our next action?
Timeline, right?
So you would want to make it, you would want to take an action, a motion to approve how you're going to use it, and then the next agenda item, we do have a draft, just in case you decide to go this route, we have some draft criteria the second round.
Okay, let's, I'll take a motion on that if somebody's willing to try to restate what I suggested. And I think everybody agreed to.
So I'm gonna try it.
Right, put it on the board or?
So just,
Jack, pass that down.
I motion that we do a second round of economic through the MAG with the application process we'll talk about here in a minute. If there's money left over past the second round, it will go to the cities and towns per capita. In conjunction, we will also petition the county to let us use the money for non-stimulus activities under the COVID restrictions if there's money left over as well.
After no,
After they, if there's money left over after.
The purpose,
second round.
the purpose of that going to the city in addition to was for economic stimulation, whether it be profit or nonprofit.
Or economic stimulation, or
Any-
other COVID expenses.
any economic recovery expense.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Who was doing that for Melanie? Was that you? that-
Yeah, I'm,
You got all
I
that.
think we're on the same page. So I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And a second. Any question on the motion?
Can I clarify? what you
Yes.
said? So are you saying that you're gonna do a second round first, and then if there's still money left over the second round, you're gonna give it to the cities based upon their population? And you're gonna start in the cities with economic recovery first, and if there's still money left over, then it might go to something else outside economic recovery?
Yes, and we will petition the county commission
At that
for the ability to do that.
But if it goes to the cities, you're gonna start with the premise it's gonna go economic recovery first.
Whether it be
you got it.
retail or
Right, yes.
nonprofit.
Okay.
Just trying to clarify your motion. Thank you.
Yeah.
No.
I think we all understand.
Yeah, I understand, and I know that I feel like I can find the money to be spent within my city currently as it comes back allocated to me. I didn't think so at first, but when I start thinking of all the nonprofits, then I think there's my backstop. So I will be voting against it, but I hope I still get halibut.
You're gonna make them swing by American Fork on the way home, is that what you're gonna do?
No, I'll come to you.
Okay. I have a motion. I have a second. Any other comments on the motion?
Quickly, who
So,
was the second?
so I mean, I guess I do need to clarify, Mayor Frost, on your statement, when you said you're voting against it. I'm not sure why you're voting against it, because you can take that money and still have it
Yeah,
go to,
I feel like I have a home for it for the amount currently, as I've done the math, $9 with between little holes in the business side and bigger holes in the nonprofit side. I can find a home for it.
so this basically gets down to whether or not you can feel you can administrate it or not, so. Okay. I'm gonna take a roll call vote on this, because I know it's not gonna be unanimous. I'll start with Mayor Lacy.
Oh, now you come to me
vote.
first. huh?
Yeah, first vote.
I'm Switzerland. Oh, yay.
I'll vote yay, but I also just want clarification on the timeline because I want to make sure we move this along and there isn't these
And
stalled
we
out
can
weeks.
probably do that in the next
Yeah.
agenda item, okay? Mayor Wright. Mayor Frost,
Vote me.
Say that one more time.
Nay.
Staley, I'm going to vote in favor. So
I support it.
3, 4, 5 to 1. Okay.
Can we get on to the next county commission agenda so we can get that part going, like next week or something? I don't know when.
Next week, yes, our agenda deadline is passed for tomorrow.
Right, so then next week.
Yeah, but, yeah, I think you're talking about getting some approval for.
Yeah, for that.
Who do we have present that to the county?
I'm happy to do it if you want to have it.
We need to be there. Is that, this is a kind of an ambiguous amount, right? We don't know how much it's gonna be. It's just if there's.
It might be
any
very
left
small by the
I
time.
mean, by the
Yeah.
time,
If anything.
we'll spend all ours, whatever
But
doesn't.
we just
have any
need that
application,
permission.
we'll
You just
spend.
want to be able to say, we're going to spend the entire.
Now,
money.
We have
this
some
next one
flexibility.
can, maybe I should ask this question before, this next round that we're doing, can it be profit and nonprofit, or is it just for profit, this next round?
Profit, just is
Just
my
profit.
understanding on the next one. Your nonprofits will probably have to be covered, and this is probably why Mayor Frost voted no. The nonprofits will
With
have
that
to be
money that
covered
goes
with
to the city.
additional money that comes. Okay. Okay, with that being said, let's go to item number 6, is a discussion regarding eligibility, process and distribution for
Okay.
Canadian funds.
So just in case it went this direction, we prepared a draft of what it could possibly look like this second round. I'll just quickly highlight the changes from the first round. So we would be prepared to open the application this Friday. So quickly, the recommended changes would be that the business could be, as long as they were operating March 1st, 2020. So that's a year later than the original deadline of March 1st, 2019.
So that loosens that up.
Yep, and then the only other change in eligibility requirements is number 5. We extended that 15% loss through August 31st. Originally, it was June 30th. And then on the second page, the program service area, we also just clarified that they could be based in Utah County if they're an online business, but the business owner, they're based in Utah County, because we had a lot of questions regarding that. Required documentation, we would collect W-9s during the application process, because that set us back, what, 2 weeks? 2 weeks trying to go back and get W-9s. So we'd collect that during the process. That would save us about 2 weeks. Tax returns, if they didn't have a tax return available, we would accept bank statements. And then we've just lengthened the list of how they could possibly prove their financial loss. We've taken off the requirement for the P&L. That proved a hurdle for a lot of businesses. So we would take bank statements, receipts, bills saying they're overdue, they have late fees, they're going to collections, any kind of document that they could prove any kind of loss. And then rather than a hard business license, we would take articles of corporation, proof of registration of entity, proof of EIN. So just a longer list of options for them to prove that they were in business. Those were some of the things that held us up. And then prioritization, the only thing that we took off, before we had language about mandated and forced closures, and that was never an issue in Utah County. There was no mandates or forced closures, so we took that language off. And again, I don't know if a couple of you missed, we are ready to open this application this Friday. And then we would recommend at least 2 weeks. The way this draft reads is actually, so it would open up on Friday, October 2nd. The draft says closing Monday, October 19th, because that gives those business owners the weekend, because a lot of them work. They're running their business.
It would be pretty easy for the ones that have already applied. These already got all that.
Yes, yes. And so, and then we would, so this time we would take out that marketing, that 2 weeks of marketing. We would just open an application. We would send out postcards to businesses. We would alert everyone else that we did last time. And then by collecting that W-9, once the applications were closed, we would not have to go back and collect any other documents. We could get that money out really quickly. And I think lifting that P&L requirement and extending the opening date to March 1st, 2020 will open it up. And then I also want to throw this before you discuss is, would the committee be open to funding businesses a second time? So if they received money the first round, can they receive money the second
I
round?
was just gonna ask that question if we're disqualifying them, because I think we should.
Should be able to
Because
fund
as I'm
them. or-
looking at these qualifications, they could qualify again. And
Yes.
I just don't think that's right if they've already received money, but I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
I think you
I
should
think
address
they should be
it.
considered again, because in some cases, and I keep harping on our theater, I mean, yeah, she got $10,000, but her need was way bigger than $10,000 to help keep her solvent.
So kind of a lesson learned, I think that perhaps the dollar amount that you all decided was a little bit small, up to that 20,000. But I would hesitate increasing that, because then the first round would be
Yeah.
upset. Maybe you let people apply again
Instead of increasing it.
instead of increasing it, yeah.
I just think, yeah, I think there's still some needs in some of those businesses that apply, and that's just my thought.
Well, and I think what you can do is those who didn't receive any money would get a
Priority.
higher rating
Mhm.
than those who receive money.
I can go with
Because I
that.
think the whole idea here is to give money to people that haven't, that need it.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand that might have been a small amount, but at least they received some,
I
somebody
agree.
else has.
No, I agree, but I'd hate to limit them if they.
If you open it up again, you might spend it all real quick.
Well, that's, my concern is that. I think everybody who won last time, won a grant award, I think is gonna apply again, and they'll probably win again. And that concerns me. That's gonna limit the amount of money that's gonna come back to the cities to redistribute. I think that's gonna be the difference, so.
Coming back.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can get money
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
So-
can go with that too.
So I'm like you.
Okay,
I'd say let's
Second
not put
only.
that in.
okay.
Yeah.
So
You know,
they were-
I think by virtue of just extending the dates, everybody's probably, well, unless something's happened, they're going to have more loss if things are heading in a bad direction for them. And so I agree. I think we ought to just, if you received the first grant, let's go for those that didn't receive it.
And that's
Did
fine.
did not
Point
receive
well
it,
taken.
right?
So make them
Yeah.
ineligible if they received it in the first round. They're ineligible to apply if they've received money the first round.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the city, once that money's
Once the city comes.
back,
the
then
money
you
comes.
can
Then we'll have that flexibility.
So Michelle, can you answer this for me? I mean, 1099 employees, they are not eligible. Is that?
That would be up to the committee, but the first round 1099 employees were not eligible. They had to be a business entity, a registered business entity.
That's where all a lot of your salon, your stylists fit in.
We
You
did
have a lot of
have,
subcontractors that operate that way too, and that would concern me a little bit, but that might just be me. I know people personally who make a living off the 1099s.
yeah, and that's up to you. If you want to fund 1099s, that would be a decision for the committee to make, and we would just add it.
So the applications are gonna come back and we're gonna treat it, this committee's gonna look at them again. They're not gonna be pulled out, and I'm gonna get all the Provo applications and I get to decide it's not going that way. It's gonna be just.
Just like we did before.
Yeah, just like we did before, and then the money that's left over, that's
Then we get it to
distributed
the
by
city.
per capita.
Okay.
That was your motion, right?
I don't have a sense of what the 1099 would.
You heard the news from the University of Utah, right? Yeah, let's see, there you go. Thank you, kids.
Not even.
All right,
So-
any questions on the eligibility requirements?
Just to clarify, no on the 1099s, keeping it consistent, no on the 1099s.
I'm in favor, but if
Okay.
everybody else is saying no, I'm fine with that, but I just think, I feel sorry for those.
1099 is, I guess I don't know.
So if you're a subcontractor and you're not an actual employee, but you work as a subcontractor for a number of different companies, and so you go and they pay you as a 1099, meaning you pay your own taxes at the end of the year, you pay your own social security and everything. Some people run a business just as
Kind of an
1099.
A common one-
consulting business or something like that.
In this first round, Mayor, right?
You enter into a contract with something like a city, you pay, so not 1099.
Yeah.
Mayor Wright, can I give you,
You might have hire a plumber to come in and do some work around your house.
Oh.
He may have an LLC or another business, or he might just be 1099. You know, generally, if they're a registered business, you may think they may perform better, but that's not necessarily true. A 1099 is a person who doesn't want to form his own business, but wants to just run his business through his own personal tax account or tax account at the end of the year.
we actually got a lot of applications from hairdressers who are 1099s. They rent a booth in someone's business. They own the salon, and they kind of ignored our criteria. So we got a couple dozen applications from 1099 hairdressers, but they were not eligible because they didn't have a business.
And see, they got impacted. Those are the kind of people I guess, have some sympathy for because
It would be easy
they got
to
hit
say
really
yes, but say 2,000 max or something, I'm making a number, right?
hard. The different category.
Yeah, like if you're 1099, you can still apply, but you're only gonna get a small amount because you're just supporting yourself in a lot of ways, not a larger group of small business employees. I don't know.
And I'm fine with that, but I'd like a little bit more to it, 2,000, because some of those people,
No,
that is their job.
I just
right?
made that up.
I mean, a hairdresser's a good, I mean, that's their living. That's how they
Yeah,
make
yeah.
a living. And
They
all of a
should have
sudden, I don't know how many times, I've been cutting my hair. I've never cut my hair so much in my life as I have in the last 6 months. You can tell, I
You don't
know
look
just by
like
looking
it.
at it.
And I can tell you have
Yeah, I
your own
know.
hair.
But you know, I finally got into get a haircut for the first time, I think last Saturday. It was like wonderful.
I never stopped in Saturday.
So right now you have sole proprietors and 1 through 10 employees up to 10,000. You could do 1099s up to 10, or you could do 1099s up to 5 if you wanted to consider 1099s.
About 1099 to 5. That's not reasonable. Because most of them don't have business expenses, so I don't think they need the full 10, but I think they need.
They don't have the overhead of businesses.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, you have your supplies, you know. So,
How do you feel about the in business by March 1st, 2020? So officially before COVID really hit.
I think that still stands. The only one I question is 5. Is that the March 15th to the August 31st? Did we end it at March 15th?
Last
before?
time it was June 30th, 2020. So we extended it to August 31st,
Starting March 16th.
but starting
Okay,
March
but it's still-
16th. Or should
Okay,
we?
so that works.
Beginning of COVID,
Okay.
the more
Yeah.
current.
Okay.
Any, how do you all feel about the Friday to Monday? So 2 weeks and some couple days for the application. Would you prefer it exactly 2 weeks?
No, I
Close
think
it.
it's fine to go through the weekend.
All right, and then close it Monday.
Close it Monday.
Okay, and then, yeah, we don't have to collect W-9s.
And
And
then
then-
have we got a list of businesses to promote this like we did before?
Yes, so we'll use the same channels that we did last time. In addition, we will do the book of lists, send postcards to every business in Utah County. We'll reach out to all of the cities, the clerks, the chambers. Our interns have not volunteered.
So,
They will be paid to go hand flyers to some of our minority-owned businesses in some downtown areas, some places that we really want to target this time.
can we put in bold letters right at the beginning of the postcard or whatever, this is for applications that were not successful at the first round?
We could,
Just so they know
Just
right
so
off
they-
the bat,
that they're not eligible.
they're not eligible.
Yeah, and we'll have a question that weeds them out from
First
that
question is.
application as well.
Right.
Mhm.
Final chance.
I just don't want somebody getting all
Final second
excited,
chance.
right? Yeah, final second chance.
Yeah.
We all need a second chance. in life.
Exactly.
So just so the changes to the draft that is pending approval, we would make 1099s eligible up to $5,000. And if they received any funds in the first round, they would not be eligible for the second round.
Until it lands in our hands.
Yeah.
Then we can.
Yeah.
now
The
we got
required
flexibility.
documents for business license
Yeah.
for the 1099 would be what?
Oh,
I don't know
We
why
don't
we
have
would-
to ask the county.
That's a lot easier.
yeah,
I can sleep
There
at
would
night
be
now.
none.
We've given every
There would be none.
those
It would be attached to their regular
legitimate.
tax.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
that
what
would be their
I'm saying.
personal tax.
Also
So
come
they,
complain,
that,
Hey, you had like 3
So you
chances.
could do proof of
Right.
business being licensed or.
Yeah, once it gets in our hands.
either
like
their
personal
professional,
tax,
either their
it'll be so
professional
easy.
license
It
or
all
taxes
comes
again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need to have
We
that
can
in
find
there?
places for.
You know, and you got a lot of small nonprofits. I just had a couple of big ones. I don't have any small
There's a lot of years I had nonprofit in my business, so I'm loving
We would like to make one edit to the draft since we're including 1099s. Under the proof of business licensing,
it. No,
we'd like to include professional licenses or their tax returns just to show that they're 1099 status.
Yes, that's, yeah,
Okay.
if they have certificates. There's some that won't have certificates.
So we'll look at their tax.
Like, for instance, you
Documents.
could have guys out there doing drafting on the side
But,
for land surveyors and engineers and that. Won't
But they should
necessarily
have that in
a
their personal
certificate.
tax.
Their
What's that?
their personal tax
Their
returns.
personal tax
Oh,
return should.
yeah,
yes.
that would show.
Okay.
that would
They,
show.
they wouldn't have tax returns if they were established in March of this year.
That's true.
So invoices from clients, or what are we willing to accept?
thank you.
And yeah, and look at invoices, because
that they've been
invoices will have to
invoicing since
they've been
demonstrate.
invoices.
Yeah,
Any invoice dated prior to March 1st, 2020?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right,
So we need a
that's good.
motion on that?
yeah, I think that's item
Yeah, so we'll
7.
have, we'll need a motion on these drafts to make these the final versions with those edits.
Okay, so have you got everything then?
Yes.
I'll take a motion.
I'll just say, I don't know whether I can repeat it, but I'll make the motion.
Well, she has all the information,
Okay, good.
as discussed.
As discussed.
Okay, have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will.
I have a second. We're gonna do roll call again. I'll start with Mayor Frost.
Aye, yes.
Bailey?
All right.
All right.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay. EDA CARES grant update.
Okay, so back in June, when this committee was established, the third purpose of this committee was to provide guidance in developing a disaster recovery and resilience economic development plan focused on pandemic recovery and resiliency. We've been focusing all of our efforts to date on the small business grants and the nonprofit grants. The EDA grant was a little bit slow coming through, but it's official, and I apologize, I've waited to the end of the meeting to introduce Jack Davis. He is our new economic recovery coordinator, and he will be coordinating the EDA grant. And in your packet, and just due to time, we won't go through this again, but we talked about this at COG. The main priorities of this grant and what Jack will be spearheading is a recovery plan, a pandemic recovery plan that will, our region is Utah, Summit, and Wasatch County, but we'll specifically break it out. Utah, Summit, and Wasatch County separately will each have their own sections of the plan. And then Jack will be the expert on CARES Act funding, any new funding that comes available, and coordinating with city, all of our jurisdictions, our economic development planning. This committee will be reconvened when we have a contractor come on board to start working on the plan. Jack will be working on the RFP process and shortly here and getting someone on board. And so we just wanted to introduce Jack and let you know that we are starting this third phase of the purpose of this committee. It won't be as intense. By no means will it be a weekly meeting, but just gathering and helping guide the recovery planning with no end in sight for the pandemic.
And just so you know, we make decisions usually a lot easier.
Hi, Jenny, we can do very. Should blame it on her? Actually, I was voting this time too, maybe that's. It's me.
But in this handout, there's details on what Jack will be working on. We're very excited to have him. He'll start joining these meetings regularly, and your staff people will be hearing from him. That's it.
Any other business? Awesome. I do have halibut there, so I don't know. I put 14 steaks in there.
No way.
So,
That is so awesome.
so just grab one on your way out.
Did you get one last
I'll
time?
get the Mayor Frost. I'll take his.
Are we bringing it
Oh,
over?
I'll let you know how it tasted.
Could we
Take a picture of it for me, will you?
adjourn
Hey,
Talk about what?
the next meeting before
Oh,
we
yes,
adjourn?
let's discuss the next meeting.
Would we be ready by the 20th?
I'm not sure we can do it. by the 20th.
Okay.
Probably need 1 week after. close.
27th?
Yeah.
Okay. We probably wouldn't need to meet again until October 27th for final decisions on the small business grants. But we will send you weekly updates on where we are, what the applications are looking like.
You won't hurt my
Don't
feelings if we
confuse me
don't
again.
have a.
Well,
try
I
not
know
to.
you'll
Miss
have
a meeting right
withdrawals
there.
every Tuesday.
I just read the first thing, the meeting got changed, and I thought, okay, we got changed over to Provo. I didn't finish reading the rest. It got changed back.
That's what I do, so.
Do you see a need to meet before then?
No.
Or is email
No.
update sufficient?
No, I think you guys have handled everything well. Just let's get this other out there and let's figure out,
Okay.
but the updates will be nice.
Updates, and we'll be prepared on the 27th to make final award recommendations for the small businesses, and we should be able to be running checks and getting them out.
On my end, I will cancel those calendar invites. I just kind of put placeholders in. I'll cancel the ones that I had set the next 3 weeks and make one for the 27th.
Perfect.
Make it a little bit longer, do you think?
Probably, yeah, maybe 2.5 hour, and then, well, actually.
Hopefully the list is
Yeah,
just.
yeah,
We
probably
should
just 2
go-
hours.
They were 2 exceptions last time, yeah.
Yeah, probably 2 hours is fine.
So then, Michelle, my question is, and then once that process is over and we decide who gets the money, we see what's left over, we divvy it up,
Mhm.
how quickly can we get that money? Because I'm just thinking the students are leaving right the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So all those businesses are gonna be hurting through the
Yeah.
holidays.
So
And
we
so
could,
any money left over, I would love to get out to them
Yep.
in that gap of the students gone and.
so I think what we should do is, so the application closes October 19th. We will, at midnight, so the 20th, we could send you all how much was even asks, what asks were there, who's ineligible. We can estimate what we actually have, so you have an idea of how much money there is in the
Leftover.
pool.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it sounds like we'll be on the county commission agenda to let them know how we're proceeding.
Andrew's gonna
And
do
on
that,
October
right?
27th, you could put an
Yeah.
agenda item here that the rest of the money goes to the cities per capita, so you could do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yep,
Assuming that the county said,
Thanks, Rob.
But
Done
you-
faster than that.
So you could, after all the students leave, you could have a dance party and distribute money.
You know, all of a sudden, your
Throw it in the air.
numbers are gonna go way down after they all leave. That'd be great. Yeah, you are a cancer. According to the governor,
Okay, I'm gonna take one final motion.
I'll make that motion.
And a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Michelle, did I tell you about my daughter? So she was going to the University of Utah, senior.
Yeah, we definitely need to.
Well, no, she decided to move to Provo
Okay.
because all of her classes are online. So she moved to
Should
Provo to
we
get away
just-
from COVID.
I should not-
No, she never got it.